podcast, the Everyman Nerds podcast. I, of course, am Tommy Bolden, and joining me, as always, is Taylor Salen and Kurt Hall. How are you guys doing this evening?
Wonderful.
Great.
That is excellent. Tonight, we will be focusing on Man of Steel. We all were able to go out and catch it over the weekend, and just going to give you a quick rundown of what we thought. Hopefully spoiler-free, maybe till later on down the video. But I'm going to go ahead and let Taylor take it away.
Okay, so in case you guys don't know, and if you don't, then I don't know what the hell you were doing this weekend, because Man of Steel made $125 million over a 3-day weekend. But Man of Steel is the Superman reimagining, which is directed by Zack Snyder. It was produced by Christopher Nolan, written by David S. Goyer. It stars Henry Cavill, Amy Adams, Lawrence Fishburne. You have the always wonderful Michael Shannon in this. So, Tommy, what did you think of this one? I know you're excited for it.
I really enjoyed Man of Steel. It had a few problems, and it had a few things I kind of turned me off a little bit. But all in all, it's been the best. It's been the best Superman film that we've quite frankly had since Christopher Reeves did the original way back in the 70s. But to me, it was pretty good.
Cool. Kurt, what is your general thoughts on Man of Steel?
I think it's a pretty average movie, personally. I think there's a lot of... There's a good amount of solid moments in this movie, but I feel like ultimately the negatives equal out to more of a lasting impact on the film than the positives.
Yeah, I have to agree with both of you, actually. Tommy, I think this is the best interpretation of Superman since the original Christopher Reeve film. And Kurt, I think you make a good point in saying that there's a lot of stuff this movie does right, but personally, I think the second half of this movie is a real mess. I mean, this movie is a character study in a way, and that's why I really like the first act and halfway into the second act, and then it kind of goes downhill from there. But there's a lot of character stuff, and it's also a crazy action movie, though. Like the levels of action are truly mind-numbing at points in this movie, and in a way, I don't know if that's quite intentional, but I think it could be in a sense, because Superman's a character that moves so fast. And I will have to say, I do like some of the liberties that they took with the origin story. So how did you guys feel about the changes they made to kind of the origin of Superman, if you will, and kind of the Kryptonian side of things?
I, for one, thought it was kind of refreshing to see a different take on the origin story of Superman. It gave it, to me, it made the General Zod character a little bit more grittier to me. But, you never really got a Superman origin story in any of those original films. You never got a look at Krypton. You never saw his family, really. And I think Russell Crowe did a really good job as Superman's father. And, it kind of, when the movie starts off, it kind of boom. And, you're right in the heat of everything. And he's trying to warn them that Krypton's about to explode. And then you have Zod come in, who's trying to compromise things. And he realizes the same thing that, Superman's father does. But I thought it was pretty good to start things off like this. It was kind of like a bang for me. And that's the way, that's kind of the way I wanted this to happen. Because in a sense, Superman's backstory is kind of boring because, you just think, well, his father and mother knew the planet was going to blow up, so they put him on a ship and launched him out into space. You didn't catch all this that they kind of went into later.
Yeah, I'm sure you can agree with that, Kurt. Like, I think the Krypton is fleshed out enough, just enough to satisfy intrigue without giving too much away. So what did you think of the whole kind of Krypton sequence, if you will, Kurt?
I didn't mind it. I think it injects a lot of good faith at the beginning of the movie. My problems with the movie had nothing to do with the story. or even the way the actors play these characters. It was more. I felt like this movie didn't have a heart and soul to it, so I didn't really care too much about what was happening to these characters. But like, I think the first half of this movie does a really good job of setting everything up,
Yeah.
and then like I said, it's just the pacing of the movie and how it plays out is the big problem. It's not the story, because the story is pretty excellent
Yeah.
by Superman standards.
And that's because Christopher Nolan was a co-creator of the story along with David S. Goyer. So that makes, a lot of sense. Um, so did you guys like the changes, like the more grounded in reality, kind of like the Batman esque style that he applied to those movies? Did you guys like that stuff, or was it too much for you? And I know, Kurt,
Are you
you're not a big Superman fan, but
are you referring to some of the stuff that he put in there for Superman this time?
yeah, I mean the fact that they don't really
Yeah.
ever call him Superman except for once,
I
it's kind of
I
like that thing where they
actually
never really call him Batman. It's
yeah.
the Batman, or it's just that guy
Yeah.
type of
I
thing.
kind of I kind of like that because, he's a superhero who at this point, when he first talks to the government, he really hasn't had his powers for very long. Or I mean, he's had his powers, but he doesn't know, the extent of his powers, and he doesn't really realize what it is he can and can't do, and you see
Yeah,
him struggle to fly, and I really thought that was really important because there's that one moment where they're in the holding cell and he's handcuffed and he's talking to Lois Lane, and she goes, well, that's an S on our planet, referring to his suit, and she's like, so how about super? And then it kind of just flies off, and nothing more is said till a little bit later on.
yeah,
I felt like that was a really good touch to it because you don't really ever hear him refer to himself in the comic books as Superman. To
yeah,
him, he's Kal-El or he's Clark Kent. To everyone else around him, he's Superman. So if you kind of look at it that way, you don't even really know if he knows that he's Superman. So that's kind of the way
yeah.
I took
And
it.
and I don't know about you guys, but my favorite performance in this movie by far was that of Kevin Costner as Jonathan Kent. Oh my god, like
Really,
his scenes were so powerful. Like, and that's saying a lot for a freaking superhero movie. Like, I feel like Kevin Costner brought so much pathos to the movie that it really, really needed. Like, the interactions between him and the different age Clarks throughout the first act of the movie, I thought were extremely well done, um, and surprisingly well written. And that's the thing is, I've heard a lot of people online bashing, especially in the group and stuff, bashing the screenplay, like saying that they didn't like the writing and the dialogue. And I think some of the dialogue's cheesy in this movie and kind of hokey, but there's some really well placed stuff in there at the same time. So it's kind
Yeah,
of a
I
surprise
think
for me to see at least a little bit of greatness if it's not sometimes always there.
I thought pretty much every segment with young Clark Kent with Kevin Costner was great. However, I did find it well, I'll go into spoilers later,
Yeah,
um, but yeah, Kevin Costner does such a great job in the movie. He kind of he brings an emotional center to the film when it doesn't really have one.
yeah,
And
and
Diane Lane does a pretty good job too.
yeah,
Like,
she's solid, but I mean, like honestly, Kevin Costner is the reason why I care about Superman. His performance in this movie, as Jonathan Kent, is the reason why I care about Superman's choices later in the movie. Like his choice to become Superman and to expose himself to the world and stuff. And more than anything, I think that was handled extremely well, especially considering it's a Zack Snyder film and you're not expecting, grade A performances, which I think his performance in this is. So I don't know. What are you
I,
guys' thoughts?
I really liked Kevin Costner in this film too. I really, you know, I actually kind of like the direction that this story kind of went because with the young Clark Kent, because he didn't really want all these responsibilities, and he wasn't really troubled by the fact he was troubled in a sense that he had all these abilities and he didn't know how to handle them, and then with time he learned through his father that he could. And but like you said, Kevin Costner really did a great job in this film, and that's saying a lot for a guy who has not really been on the big screen in a very long time. And if he has, it's been in kind of smaller roles.
Yeah.
But you know, and I I kind of feel bad for Kevin Costner because I think he's actually a really good actor, and
Yeah.
he really he gave heart to his performance and to this movie as well. I can't agree with that. And
Yeah.
if it wouldn't have been for those moments where you see the flashbacks to him and Clark talking, then this film just really would have died for me because it just would have been Superman pounding everybody, and I was like, well, okay, I
Yeah.
would have been disappointed.
Yeah, I completely agree. What did you, Kurt? What did you think of Michael Shannon as Zod?
I think he is a character that actually suffers the most from the characterization in this movie. I don't know, maybe it's the way they edited the film, but I felt like there were moments when you should have been afraid of Zod, and I just wasn't because he kind of felt like monotone at times.
Really?
And I guess my question for both of you guys is: did you find him sympathetic? Because it seemed like they really tried to play him as a
No.
sympathetic villain. You know, like
I'm
he's
gonna.
trying to
I'm.
save his race and his world. You know, and he's gonna do anything to do that. It's kind of like that.
I'm gonna.
I don't know.
I'm gonna
I
go
might
in the
have
direct. Go ahead, Kurt.
I might have felt that way had Zod. I don't even know how to say this. I might have felt that way if they didn't hit me over the head with it like 8 times in the movie that he was doing that. Like one time of saying it is enough. I didn't really
Yeah,
need 4 times.
yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah,
go. I'm gonna go on the opposite road here, and I'm gonna say that I found Zod absolutely terrifying. I found him crazy. I found him, this gritty. He's been through a lot. He's on the brink. He was on the brink of death, and I kind of feel pity for him. I kind of did feel pity for him because even at the beginning of the movie, where he's doing all these really bad things, and he's doing it because he thinks in his own mind he's saving Krypton. And that's the scary part to some bad guys is that they don't always think they're doing wrong. Sometimes they think what they're doing is right. And it comes down to either him saving a race or him just letting it face total annihilation.
yeah,
But yeah, and but I found there were some parts where I found it absolutely just him terrifying, and I really, and I don't mean to say this in a homosexual manner, but I really loved his voice in this. Michael Shannon's voice as Zod was absolutely piercing for me because he sounded like a guy who was just kind of beat up and tired, but
yeah,
he knew what he had to do and he was going to get it done, and he sounded like he had been through battles and everything, and I really appreciated what they did with him because to be honest, if I would have got another silly Zod, I would have been kind of upset with it.
yeah.
But
Jokey's odd. Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
I agree. I don't think the character, especially the character's dialogue, was well written. I think Michael Shannon brings a lot, almost everything, to the role that I liked about it. If they would have cast somebody else besides Michael Shannon, I don't think
I
that
don't I
it
don't
would have.
think it would have worked.
Yeah, I honestly don't like, cause
He
he didn't try
really,
to do the Terrence Stamp at the same time. Like he put his own
yeah,
spin on it. But like the thing I didn't like about it is it's just a lot of Zod screaming in the movie. Like he's very calm and then he just starts screaming. You know.
Well, that my
that's
problem with
Zod.
the edit. My problem
But
with the editing of the movie is that when he does scream, it's like muted down, so you don't actually feel like he is screaming.
yeah,
And I don't know if that was like an editing choice or what, but it's weird because a lot of superhero movies tend to have this issue with the voice of their enemies. Like we had
yeah,
this with Bane, we had this with the Joker, and sometimes it works really good, and sometimes it doesn't really work all that well. And I didn't think it worked here.
yeah. Okay, so what did you guys think about the action scenes? Because obviously Zack Snyder's a pretty visually interesting director to say the least. So did you guys like the way that he composed them? I mean, did you find him well shot? What are your guys' thoughts, Kurt?
I like most of them. Like I really like the first one that takes place in Kansas. I think that one is pretty excellent, even though it kind of pits two people who can't hurt each other against each other. So you're kind of like just watching the same
You mean
things happening.
the small town brawl, or
Yeah,
Sorry, small town, Smallville brawl. I guess it
yeah.
would be.
Um,
Um,
I don't know. Like watching
but
Superman and Zod fight is cool at the beginning, but
yeah,
then it gets kind of annoying because you realize these guys can't hurt each other. And by the time you get to the last fight, which I feel takes way too long and destroys way too many buildings, like
the
did we
level of destruction is pretty insane.
like it? I will say this about the movie: they don't have a problem with killing pedestrians,
Yeah.
but
Well, and I think
I
it's
don't know.
justified though too, like because in this kind of realistic light they're trying to paint Superman in, like if two super beings like this were to go at it, they would destroy a whole city, like that would
Yeah,
happen, you know.
I think that's
But
fine, but I
it's
didn't really need to see 10 buildings fall in
yeah,
the
and there's
final
a
fight
lot of
sequence.
not only that in that final sequence, there's a bunch of subplots, little mini action scenes, if you will. One with Lawrence Fishburne that I just there's a lot of useless action that doesn't really move the story forward. You know, like the whole Smallville fight I think could have been completely jettisoned from the movie and would have cut 10-15 minutes of runtime. You know, and I didn't think it was really necessary in any real way.
The just one more thing. I think the action felt overbearing to a lot of people who watch this movie, but I don't think the action itself is overbearing because I don't think the running time has that many action, like that much time on screen for action scenes. I think it's just because the first half of the movie, there's literally like no action scenes, and then they threw them all in the second
There
half of the
is,
movie.
there is a couple.
But they're like scenes of Superman getting his powers, like they're showing
Yeah,
off that.
I mean, but
So it's
there's
kind of
I
also
cool,
think
and they make it really vague. And when you finally see Superman at work, they kind of do it all at once in the second half of the movie,
yeah.
and it just feels like they strung a whole
Yeah,
bunch of action scenes together.
yeah, I can agree with that. It does take its toll on you. Like there's a certain point where I started to check out, you know,
really.
in the
I
in that final action scene. Yeah, it just I mean
I
cuz
think
the thing is again that like the characters, especially the Superman and all the Kryptonians, they move so fast. So it's a lot of quick editing like because they're going from one place to another so fast, you know, like I don't I don't know, dude. It's just it felt very choppy at certain points, but then
I think
there were certain shots that were beautiful and they were very well composed, you know.
I think the problem, I think the main problem that I'm seeing you guys having is the fact that, you acknowledge that you're watching Superman and you acknowledge they're super beings and you acknowledge that they're going to move fast. Well, I mean, do you really want to watch a slowed down Superman fight? I
No,
don't.
no, I don't.
And
But like
No,
Kurt
and
was
I
saying,
mean,
it the fact that it was so long, you know, like it felt like one on top of another instead of spread out in a
and
sense, you know,
I can
we've
kind of agree with
also
that.
because it's so
we've
But
all
intense. It's so intense, you
but
know.
yeah, but at the same time, I kind of have to give it praise for doing this because I kind of feel like they went to a route to where they were looking at everything that had been done and they said, okay, well these movies never really had a lot of action in them, and if they did, it was always really silly Superman. It was just really it was everything that everybody hated about Superman that
Yeah,
was being done, and now they're doing a film to where it's stuff that everybody would like about Superman, which is the intense action and the
yeah,
bad guy and him just destroying and tearing down a whole town. And now everybody's like, well, this is just kind of overdrawn and overdone and
yeah.
blah blah
No,
blah.
I agree. I
And I mean,
wanted.
but
I can agree. I can agree that yeah, they kind of piled all that action right at the end of it, and it felt like the last 45 minutes of this movie was just boom, 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 and
Yeah,
it was all over the place. And I kind, but at the same time, like I kind of look at it as they're gonna do a sequel, and they are, and I'm gonna look at it as maybe this is and this is a bad example, this really is, but maybe this is the X-Men to the X-Men 2. You get what I'm saying? Like
the
X-Men
Spider-Man
was
to the Spider-Man too.
okay, yeah, X-Men was okay, but everybody thought X-Men 2 was really great. And I think that's what's going to happen is, they might move in that general direction to where
Yeah.
it's like, okay, well,
Well,
we had to do what we had to do here. So let's focus on, making more of a storied Superman and then having, the flashes of action.
Yeah.
my problem with the action scenes wasn't the fact that they went too fast. It was the fact that they were sometimes poorly edited, so you couldn't follow what was going on.
That's the
And
point I'm trying to make.
we've
Well,
seen movies do this correctly. Like we've watched the Bourne movies, and they do it great. So
right.
this is where the criticism comes in. It's
And there
not that
was a
the scenes
decent
And
are
amount.
bad.
There was a lot of handheld too, so that
I
equals
kind of
always some
understand that.
sort of unstable camera. You know.
Right, I kind of understand that too. And at the same time, I think they were kind of keeping it up to your imagination as well because, you want to realize, you want to kind of see what's going on, but at the same time, it kind of leaves you up to, wow, they're moving really fast. I really wonder what's going on. I wonder who's getting the best of these struggles. And
Yeah.
then, you see them collide and then they're fighting and then it kind of drifts to where you can't really get to it. And then boom, they're being thrown through buildings and,
Yeah.
so and all that. But yeah, I do have a problem with some of the choppiness, and I
No,
did
no, and
have.
the action's well done. That's the thing. Like, but it doesn't. It's like the movie was trying to tell a story of Superman. You know, like it was trying to tell a
Yeah.
character story of Superman. And then as soon as General Zod enters the picture, it drops all that stuff and just turns into a balls to the wall action movie. You know,
Well,
it's a
because
very
at that
uneven tonal shift in my opinion. You know.
yeah, I understand. But I think also at that point, like, you had gotten the story that they wanted you to have, which was the backstory, and now it's time to see Superman's powers, and it's time to see him and the bad guy go mano a mano.
Yeah.
And
But
you know,
the
I can agree with you guys on most things that the shift was kind of strange as and they didn't really, to me, they didn't really do like a solid mix of action with
Yeah.
this to begin with. But at the same time, it's it's a starter, it's an origin story. So I kind of felt like maybe they didn't want to leave you with a Superman Returns where you just got all story and then like 10% action
Not even
and
that.
everybody, yeah, not even that,
It wasn't
and
even
then,
action. I mean, it
yeah.
was, but it's not like traditional action. Um, yeah, I mean, is there anything else you guys want to mention? I think we should move into spoilers unless there's anything in particular you guys have.
um I did want to point out I really love all of Zod's henchmen in this movie.
Really?
Like
Yeah, they are great.
the lead female of his group is freaking amazing.
Feora?
Yeah, she
She
is.
moves. She reminded me of how Raiden moves in Metal Gear Rising. Like just like here, 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 and it's just amazing to watch those
Yeah.
I
scenes.
I thought it was also great to the fact that, like, Superman had some distinct advantages over these bad guys as well, and but at the same time, they still knew what their abilities were, and they didn't know how to fly. So,
Yeah.
you see a lot of them doing and this kind of pays respects to the original comic books, to the old comic books where Superman couldn't fly. He
Hmm.
was literally, that's where the expression comes from, leaping tall buildings within a single bound.
Yeah.
Because you see him doing that at first when he's trying to fly,
Huh.
and then he learns that he can. And it's
Interesting.
kind of the same. Yeah, it's kind of the same way here, where they're like, well, he can fly, so, but wait, we can't. Well, we can leap, and they have those massive jumps where she jumps out of the ship at the end onto the plane, and then you see
Yeah.
Zod like not flying at Superman, but like leaping up at him from the side of the building. So
Yeah. And then the part. Oh, I don't want to. I don't want to spoil it, but I thought that was. I guess what do you guys think of the Zod confrontation? Did it live up to what you imagined it might be? Because you knew it was going to be a complete showdown, and I think it is to an extent, but I don't know. I just kind of felt a little disappointed because there was a lot of action build up to get to the Zod Superman fight. You know?
I thought it was pretty intense.
It
It was
was, it
just
was,
it was
but
just them beating the total hell out of each other,
I
and
just didn't
you
feel
know,
like it was. It was like that. It was like that Iron Man, that case of like Iron Man or Iron Man 2, where you finally get to that final boss fight and it's over really quickly. Like that's just how I felt about it. I don't know.
well, it really didn't end that quickly. Like
Yeah,
in
no, I
Iron
mean
Man 2,
not
it
as
was just
bad as
like
that.
it was over before it even began. But this, I think they did a good job of managing it because if they would have, they could have went further with it, but I think it would have gotten tired very fast because it was just like you said, it's two super powered beings going at each other, and it would be really hard for them to hurt each other. So
Yeah,
it kind of goes for me that that was something that should have been really intense but really short at the same time. So I mean, it wasn't short, but it
yeah.
was it was done in a good time frame. So
Okay. One more question. What did you guys think of the score? Because obviously, the score for the original Superman is classic to say the very least. I mean, that score is just incredible. You know, like the Superman theme in particular is one of the greatest themes of all time. So, do you guys think Hans Zimmer lived up to the expectations that we all had for it? Kurt?
Not really. I think he does a decent score, but it doesn't really shine in the movie.
Yeah,
I think this is more like Hans Zimmer complimenting a movie score than actually doing something spectacular.
yeah. Tommy, what did you think?
score didn't bother me too bad. I thought he could have brought more out. I
Yeah,
think he did a really good job with the music at the end of the movie where the fight scenes were going on.
really?
Cause
See, yeah,
yeah,
I
it
thought that was terrible.
that's what I was gonna say.
really,
That was gonna be my complaint is that I really, really love the music during the build up scenes, the young Clark
yeah,
scenes. There was a build up through the theme, and it sorts to kind of starts crescendo towards the end of the movie. But then all the action comes in, and just the loudness of the action. I don't know about you guys, but when I saw this, it was extremely loud. It was one of the loudest movies I've seen in a long time. And it feels like the explosions and all these things kind of overpower the score when it should be kind of kicking in. But I thought he did a good job with the theme. I really liked it. It
yeah.
was, something that was different, and that was the main thing. I was just hoping he wasn't going to try to do the same theme over again, with a twist
Now,
or whatever.
I wish at the end of the movie he would have done his twist on the original theme. I
That would
wish
be
he would have
fun,
done
like a
that.
credits. Yeah, like a
Yeah,
credits,
like
but not
that's
for the
what
actual movie.
not for the actual movie. No.
Yeah.
All in all, the score wasn't too bad. It could have been better, but like I said, I feel like this movie is going to be a good build up towards a sequel, and I feel like this is going to be one of those things where people say, well, Batman Begins was okay, but The Dark Knight was really awesome. I feel like this might be the route it's going on. I hope it is.
Yeah, at the
I
same
hope it
time,
does.
yeah, I can understand because that's the thinking of most people, but I actually love Batman Begins more than The Dark Knight because it's about
Mhm.
Batman and I love the character of Batman, so. um,
I would
and
agree.
I don't, on that front, I don't think this one's as good as Batman Begins because in
Well,
my mind
I'm not
there are a
saying
lot
it
of
is as good.
no,
I'm
no, no, no,
I'm
no, no.
saying
And
that
I understand that. I was just putting it out there because there are a lot of structural similarities as far as the story is concerned, and the kind of
yeah.
beats that happen. Um, it feels very Nolan esque in that sense. So I don't know. Is there anything else you guys want to mention? Good. Okay, so we're moving on into spoilers. So in case you guys haven't seen the movie, make sure to check back with us when you have, and you'll hear our thoughts on all the spoiler nature of the movie. So Kurt, what were some of your issues with this one?
I really thought that the jokes in this movie were so bad, and I don't think that as jokes they're bad. I think it doesn't match the tone of the movie because the tone acts like it's a very serious movie, and when they try to intermingle these little hokey jokes in the middle, they don't land correctly until the very end where Superman gets welcomed to the planet, which I thought was pretty witty.
Tommy, what did you think of the jokes in the movie?
To be honest with you, I really didn't pay any attention to them. They really didn't keep my, they really didn't keep my thought process or anything. They really
Yeah.
didn't stay with me. I mean, I like, like you said, I like the end there where, he goes into the Daily Planet and he like puts the glasses on and, he's looking at Lois and they know. And I thought that was a good little twist on that, like you were
Well,
saying.
yeah, and it's
But,
it's 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 kind of like that moment in the in Batman Begins where they kind of reveal the bat signal. It's like the
yeah,
moment that character like becomes the character we all know. It's the true conclusion of an origin story in a way, and I really like that. But um, I just feel like it dropped a lot of character development. And speaking of which, the whole stupid scene in the third act with Lawrence Fishburne trying to save this girl that we barely even know. I'm sorry, I don't care. She can die. Like 50 other thousand people freaking have died in this massive destruction of buildings and all this crap. Like, I
The
just
I
didn't
only
think,
care about that, and it was a useless subplot
well,
that could have saved three
uh,
minutes of the runtime.
I think I think the reason they done that was just to really show you that these guys, all these guys work in the Daily Planet, and whether you really know them or not, everybody in the Daily Planet later on is kind of cryptic to not cryptic. It's kind of important to the development of Clark Kent at the Daily Planet and how he responds to stuff as Superman.
Yeah.
So you know it kind of and you guys aren't that big Superman fans either, so it's
I
kind
mean,
of hard.
yeah. No, I
It's
understand.
kind of hard for and you guys kind of see them as minor characters, and that's fine. But I know the characters, so I know
But
how they go on to
that's
be
the thing for
important
me
later.
that's
is I went into this movie just wanting to see a good movie. Like I knew I was seeing a Superman movie, but I just wanted a good movie. I wanted a good story to be told, and I feel like they don't. They start off telling a really interesting and good story, and they just kind of drop the ball in the third act in a way. But Kurt, sorry, go
yeah.
ahead.
I would agree. I think there becomes a point where you adapt a comic book to the movies and then you try to make a good movie.
Yeah,
And I feel like you have to drop some of the comic stuff to make a good movie. As much as comic book fans hate to hear this, changes have to be made because some stuff just doesn't work. And that was one of those
and
examples
it's
for
the
me.
same way with adapting a book. Like an actual novel. I'm not, not saying that comics aren't novels and stuff, but like a literary novel. There's certain changes and things that have to be cut, and it's just a different medium. And a lot of people don't understand that. They want it to be exactly how it is in the source material, and sometimes it can't be. But I think the thing that's important in that sense and in this sense is kind of keeping the spirit of the source material alive, even if you can't replicate it exactly. And that's, I think, something that this movie does well.
And I don't know about you guys, but I love all of the early scenes of young Clark Kent finding out his powers. Like though because they're ambiguous. You don't see him actually doing the act. All you see is the bus coming out of the water,
Yeah,
and then when it's out of the water, you see him lifting up the bus.
yeah.
And it makes it so much cooler when you don't see it happening.
Well, and that I like that little touch in that one scene against where he was pinned up against the fence, and you see the guys
Hmm.
walk away, and he lets go, and the fence is just crunched, the metal. And I like
Hmm.
the little thing, the subtle things like that. Those are the fun things that add to a character without actually saying,
Yeah, like
things about the character.
I felt that Henry Cavill doesn't get a chance to put on a great performance in this movie because all the good moments with Clark Kent are given to the younger actor.
No,
Like
there
Henry
is still that
Cavill,
he had that one moment with the tornado. I thought that was a really nice moment, but again, it's because
that
he's
moment's
acting.
cool, and I think the moment at the scream that he gives out after he kills Zod when he
Yeah,
realized what he had to do,
yeah,
I think that is a great moment because
yeah.
that shows character development. But other than that, it's basically Henry Cavill beating up Michael Shannon. That's it really.
Yeah, and going off that too, that I just want to talk about the Superman vision shots, which I don't even know if that's what it's called, but that's what I like to call it, where he's kind of punching as he's flying, with Zod, and once Zod learns to fly, and I thought that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then after that, you just kind of lost me for a little bit. So I don't know. There was a couple standout moments, but like you even take the scene right before that where he's on the other side of the world trying to stop the other side of the gravity machine or whatever it is. And when he's fighting those tentacles and flying through them and stuff, it was very hard to follow for me for some reason.
Hmm.
I don't know if you guys felt the same way, but it's stuff like that that I didn't necessarily feel like should have been as drawn out as it was.
I
Because we
I
know
don't know.
Superman's gonna defeat the thing anyways. So
Yeah. There were a couple other things that bothered me in the movie. There was the how his father comes back to him in like dream sequences. Like he only comes back in dream sequences in the movie, and you're not really
mm,
sure when it's a dream and when it's not a dream because
not
they don't.
necessarily because he's on the ship, Zod's ship.
I
That's
I
not a
get
dream
that.
sequence. It's just
I,
that
I
his subconscious had been imprinted on the key. You know.
Yeah, but they don't. If you're not really paying attention, it's not easy to follow there. Like that was one of my
I
issues.
didn't really find
It's
it
a
that hard to
given,
follow,
No
but
but
problem.
some people
but
don't.
there were a couple people in my
Some
theater
people
that
that
didn't really
I,
understand.
I
during
think if you
dialogue.
have like the, I think if you have the, attention span of a chimpanzee,
Yeah,
then maybe you have an issue. But I mean, if you're gonna
yeah,
go in and pay attention to the movie, then you'll get it. Like,
yeah. I thought it was pretty straightforward.
But I don't think it's the fact that it's complicated. I think it's the way that the movie's shot and they use quick cuts so much that it kind of keeps you out of the loop of what's going on at moments.
Yeah, and there's that sense of geography that I always talk about, and
Yeah.
certain sections. And again, I think this is prevalent in the Smallville fight. There's certain portions of that fight where I don't understand where the characters are in relation to one another, and that's
Yeah.
just because the editing's so fast. But I
There
mean,
is one quick cut in the middle of the movie too, which was just so off-putting. And it's when they're in the interrogation room, and you finally have that moment with Lois Lane, and they create the Superman
yeah,
thing, and he's looking at himself in the two-way mirror,
yeah,
and then all of a sudden it goes to him and Lois Lane in the middle of the desert on a quick cut, and you're like, wait, what just happened?
yeah. It's like this weird jump cut that doesn't
It
necessarily
doesn't
make any
land because
sense.
they don't the bodies aren't in the same position when they do it,
Yeah,
so it
yeah,
doesn't it's supposed to be stylish, but it doesn't
yeah.
quite work. But
Um,
there was also my one big flaw for the movie,
hmm.
which is that I could not buy into his romance with Lois
Oh
Lane.
yeah,
This
what
love story is just terrible.
there's
Like,
no development between the two whatsoever. There's like one scene where they meet and she's stalking him at his father's grave and he decides to take her up as trust her and to, it's like it seems like a bit of a logical leap for me. Just a bit, just a tad, you know.
yeah.
it doesn't bother me. Probably
Yeah.
because number one, I don't give a crap about the romance story between
Yeah, and I'm
Lois
glad they kept it to a
and Superman.
minimal. Like at
Yeah,
least they
and
kept it to a minimum.
yeah, and the less of that really, the better. And
Yeah, and I think they're.
I heard someone complain and say there's no I'm gonna do this in my Kurt Hall voice right here. There's a lack of a romantic story between Lois Lane and Superman and Clark Kent in this movie, and I'm like, dude, then go watch
You have a
Superman
disgusted
Returns.
look on your face, Kurt. You're all, what the fuck?
Like, go watch Superman Returns and shut up. Like, I don't. That I think the
Yeah.
primary complaint from a lot of people is the same crap that they've complained about for every single Superman film. It's been well, I don't like this film because well, there's no Lex Luthor and there's no kryptonite. And
No,
there's a
it's
lack of that. That's
yeah.
that's the
There's a lot of people
main
that say
crap
that,
that
but
I've
like
heard.
for me, it's just things that don't make it as I don't even want to say as enjoyable. Um, I don't know. Would you do you guys think you would rewatch this movie often, Kurt? I know you
No.
would, Tommy.
Yeah, I'll.
I mean,
It's
because
not going to be that much because
it's a
I don't.
I
pretty
will I would give it another chance if there happens to be a director's cut released.
Which there probably will be, because all of two of Zack Snyder's four four out of six have director's cuts of his movies. So that gives you an idea. The only
Yeah,
ones
like
that don't is Legends of the Guardians and 300. So
I would like to see the story expanded upon to see if maybe there was
I have a
some more
feeling there
meat on the
was.
bone.
Yeah, I have a feeling there's a lot more cut material. Um, so I don't know. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about before we rate this sucker?
I'm
Can
good.
we make fun of more of the reviewers? That's what I want to do.
Of the haters of Man of Steel?
No, I'm not necessarily saying the haters. I'm saying the people who are complaining about it not being the same Superman film that we've seen 6 times
Oh, yeah,
already.
that's so stupid. Like,
I
I
know.
love the change, and let's also mention that that I love the tiny world building elements of like the inclusion of LexCorp. We were kind of talking
Yeah.
about it before this.
Mhm.
There's a couple small. Well, there's one that's more obvious where Superman's standing right in front of a LexCorp banner, but other than that,
Well, there
there's
was
those little
also the
inclusions.
Smallville, Kansas Sears
Yeah,
reference, which was pretty cool.
yeah, yeah. That was pretty funny. There was some good stuff in there as far as the world building elements. But I don't know if the LexCorp building you actually get to see it in the movie, so we'll have to go back and frame by frame that biznatch.
It
Yeah,
makes
I
me
think it's worth
wonder.
another look.
It makes me wonder too, like, are they gonna do Lex Luthor for the second movie?
No,
I think what's going to happen is Lex Luthor is going to be in the second movie, and there's going to be a bad guy, and it's not going to be known until the end that Lex Luthor was behind it.
yeah, but
Like,
you'll see him throughout the movie, and then it'll be revealed that he's
yeah,
the big bad. That's the big twist. Okay, so let's rate this. You guys okay with rating it?
Yep.
yeah, I can read it.
All right, Kurt.
I would give Man of Steel a valiant effort, but I think the multitude of problems ultimately kill the entertainment value for me, and I give it like a 5 out of 10.
Tommy.
I am going to have to give this bad boy a solid 7.5 out of 10.
Ah,
And yeah, and because mainly because of some issues I had with the score. And then, like you said, some of the choppiness and, some of the piling the action on top of each other. It was really intense, and they did a really good job of keeping my attention. But at the same time, to me, and do not take this in the same format that I'm comparing these two movies on the same level. But at the
yeah.
same time, it was kind of had the master syndrome, where all these action scenes was a lot to take
To
in,
take
and
in, yeah, I would agree
yeah,
with that. I would agree with that.
but I I'll give it a 7.5 out of 10, and that's and that's saying because I know that this is a building block to me. In my mind, it's a building block towards the next film, where
Yeah,
they'll slow things down,
towards
and you'll
Justice League
see.
actually.
Yeah, exactly. And they'll move to a probably lesser known but good enemy who can give
Yeah,
him a good story, and yeah.
yeah, that's cool, man. I mean, I think I would have to give this a 6.5 out of 10. Give it a hot, steamy 6.5 out of 10, if you will. Um, gonna cut it right down there, close to the middle, but I think it's solid, And Tommy and I were texting earlier, and he said it's just a fun movie. And I think that's a good way to explain it. It's a really escapist movie that does a lot of dramatic elements well. Um, and I think it's going to be a massive success. There's going to be a sequel, but I think it's a fun movie to go see in theaters. I don't know how well it's going to hold up on home video. I honestly don't.
Well, we
Because
live in the
none
age
of
of the Blu-ray and the
none of
high def
none
now,
of
so
Zack Snyder's have movies have held up. I would say, with the exception of Watchmen, visually, none of his movies have held up. 300, Sucker Punch is starting to degrade in quality already. Um, and even Man of Steel, some of the visual effects. I'm talking about the visuals alone,
I
and that's
would
it. The dude, yeah, come on now. the script itself has already degraded in quality when it was written, but that's
What are you
another
talking about,
story.
Sucker Punch?
Yeah.
Oh God, I feel a horrible movie segment coming.
Ooh. So yeah, 6.5 for me. You can always email us at movienerdsmailbox@gmail.com. You can like, comment, and subscribe because you love to do that kind of stuff for us because it really helps us out. Also, we have a Facebook like button. Make sure to hit that like button. You'll get all our updates on all our stuff right to your Facebook news feed. And one more plug for me, and that's the audio blog that we have going now, where I'm going to be posting audio only episodes of all our content, and you can find the link to that on the YouTube channel page for us. So, Tommy, is there anything else you want to say before we skedaddle on out of here?
Yes, I do. And here's a little fun fact for all you guys with the audio stuff that he was just saying. If you have a cable that connects into an iPhone like this that also connects into your car radio, you can plug us directly into your car, so you can listen to us wherever you're going. Which I know you're going to want to hear us ranting and raving when you pull up to your office job in the morning.
Hey, man,
But
I listen to all my podcasts in the car. I shit you not. That's my
just like a
podcast
morning
listening
show.
zone.
Yeah, if you hate your local radio and you just want
Yep.
to listen to movies in the morning, just listen to us on the radio. Screw everybody else. We're better than them anyways. They're just
Yeah.
going to play crap you've heard a million times.
Yep.
But questions, comments, and concerns all can be posted below, as well as sent to the email address. And not only do we have that Facebook like button, we also have the original Facebook movie group, which we are coming up on a year. We're about to be a year old. It's hard to imagine.
How
that we've
times
gotten
have
all
changed.
this,
How times have changed.
stuff done within a year. But go over there and check us out, and also go and check out our brother station, Script Happens. They are working on new stuff daily. It's a group of guys who are really great, really funny, and really intelligent when it comes to the other stuff that we don't do, which is mostly video games.
Yep.
And if you guys want to go over there and check them out, feel free to do that. They will appreciate it. And, as always, with all of that being said, I'm Tommy Bolden. That's Taylor Salen, or he's probably over there, or over there, either way. And that up there is Kurt Hall. Good night, gentlemen.
Good night, America. Good night, world.
Keep it classy.
Good night, interwebs. Interwebs.
Or maybe you shouldn't be listening to us here.
Oh, I'm surprised that didn't come out during the show.
This will be a review. We all saw it over the weekend. Kurt, if you don't shut up, I'm going to punch you in the testicles. And okay, 3, 2, and 1.
Alright.
Let me tell you something.
Okay.
Like that adorable moment in the movie when like the 8-year-old kid makes an acting mistake, and you're like, "Oh, look at the 8-year-old kid making an acting mistake."
I was just sitting there thinking about it the whole time. I was like, you know what would be really awesome? Is if I just let Kurt do the outro on the spot.
That's okay.
Oh,
okay.
Man.
Alright,
I'll get you guys back at some point somehow.
let's start this up. Kurt, why don't you intro us in?
I'm good. I'm gonna let you
You're
guys
like,
do the
"Fuck
hosting.
that."
You're gonna
I'll be
let the master.
See,
The master.
You
of
guys-
booze.
this is like a $3 concert. You guys are like the two main, and then on the bottom there's the WSG with special guest. I'm that guy.
You're the guy billed on the movie that's like, and this person, you know.
Yeah, I'm
How it's
He's
like
like,
this
making a
person, this person,
cameo.
this person, and this person, and they have the small
He's
part
the
in the movie.
he's the Harvey
Even
Keitel
though-
of Pulp Fiction. He's
Yeah.
the
yeah.
Harvey Keitel of our Pulp Fiction. Don't you worry about it, Taylor. I'll be sure to get
You
everything
gotta,
fucking thing done that
you
needs to be
gotta.
done.
We
Then
need
maybe
to.
you shouldn't be on this podcast.
Oh God, are we ever gonna get to this?
we need to-
No.
I'm just saying we need to do that Jack Nicholson Joker
Promo.
promo for Script Happens.
Joker here. I watched Script Happens podcast, and you should too. I've taken off my makeup. Why won't you take off yours?
Dude, that's totally happening. That's totally been
Why didn't you
recorded.
tell me he had one of those things? Bob Gunn.
No, and then you should be like, if you don't like Script Happens, then maybe you shouldn't be living here.
If you don't,
The fourth one is, I think it's a third of a good movie, and after the Shia LaBeouf starts swinging on the vines, I just completely check out. And I enjoy the movie up to that point, though. I don't think it's a half-bad
Yeah.
movie. I mean, and a lot of people might think I'm crazy for saying that, but
I don't think it's a totally terrible film. Like,
yeah.
it's kind of like Green Lantern. Like, Green Lantern has moments where it's decent, and then the rest of it's just like
So bad.
blah.
I agree.
Don't rival on here. He'll tell you that
Green Lantern's amazing, man.
Dude, it's great.
Because it's a movie about the Green Lantern. That's what he told me, dude.
exactly because it's exactly how I saw it in my mind.
Yeah.
I can barely hear Tommy.
Yeah, your mic's kind of down a little bit, I think.
Well, maybe you shouldn't be listening to me.
That's like I think that's that one's gonna have to go in the pantheon very soon, man, where we can't touch it, you know.
I don't
'Cause,
know.
I feel like we're gonna overuse the shit out of that. Like,
I haven't used it yet. I'm waiting for the right time.
all right, let's do this, Tommy.
Let's kick some A.
Did
What if
they-
you find
yeah.
out that the Rock hacked your Facebook? Like,
Then I'm gonna be kicking the shit out of the Rock, or getting my ass kicked by the Rock one. It's probably gonna be the latter. It's
The
probably
latter.
gonna be me getting yeah.
I would prefer if it was Dolph Lundgren by accident. I've never used this Facebook before. What do I do?
I never used this Facebook before. What do I do? If it dies, it dies.
If it dies, it dies.
I feel like Dolph Lundgren would be the worst TV show doctor ever.
If he dies, he dies.
Oh God! Can you imagine Dolph Lundgren on ER?
Let's start it up then right away because we're already 18 minutes in
Piece
on
of
the
shit.
recording.
Let's do it.
He's a fucking bullshit.
Damn, Tommy, calm down, bro.
Yeah, I'm alright.
Goose Fraba.
Come at me, bro.
Slap your titties at me. Okay, alright,
Do the King Kong
alright,
titty
are we ready to
slap.
do this?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Alright. Okay, in 3, 2, and shut up, Kurt.
Yeah, dude.
I can hear you like. No, you got peanut butter.
He's
in your
doing the Joker mouth clap.
Anyway.
Okay.
Okay. All right. All right. In 3, 2, and 1. Welcome to Movie Nerds Podcast, the Everyman Nerds Podcast. Fuck me running.
Kurt, you're holding it back the whole time,
Son
dude.
of a bitch.
Would
Okay.
you
Okay.
prefer if I licked my lips like this?
No, I would not. Okay. All right. Here we go.
Take 3.
Oh God! All right, and 3, 2, 1. Welcome to fucking shit. Too much. It's too much.
Oh my god, dude. Kurt,
Just focus on
Kurt's-
Taylor.
Kurt's so giddy
Shut
tonight,
up,
dude.
Kurt.
So-
Shut up.
dude, he's so
God.
he's so giddy tonight, man. It's not even funny.
Okay. All right. I
Okay.
just promoted you to admin, Kurt. If you don't chill the fuck out, I'm gonna kill you.
Ooh.
All right. Here we go. Okay. Son of a bitch. All right. Okay. 3, 2.